Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
We're so honored to have on an incredible singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist based out of New Orleans, Louisiana, Ivan Neville. Ivan, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, man, thanks for inviting me.
You know, you've got such a deep family history, Ivan, obviously with the Neville brothers, with your dad, with your uncles and everything else. But we got to talk about this brand new album that you released, Touch My Soul. How did this come together for you?
You know, it was I kind of made it up as I went along, actually. You know, I hadn't really done a project, a solo project in a very long time. And I had written some songs. I had a project about maybe 7 or 8 years ago with a friend by the name of Chris Jacobs called Neville Jacobs. We put a record out, and that was the first time I kind of wrote this kind of songs that I normally would come up with perhaps for an Ivan solo project. But I have a band, Dumpster Funk. We've been working for a long time.
Right.
And I put that band together around the time of not long after my last record. I put the band Dumpster Funk together.
Yeah.
And I you know what, I figured that I needed some guys. I needed some fellas to help me navigate and drive the bus or whatever. So we've been doing that group for quite a long time. And it never had really occurred to me to do another solo record until I got inspired to write one song. And the song was the first song on the album. It's called Hey All Together.
Which I love. What a great song.
Thank you very much. I wrote that song. It was a standalone thing. I just got an idea in the sunroom of my house where I have a little piano. And I came up with this little piece. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is something. And it was inspired by, you know, some thoughts of maybe our us needing more community-minded vibes in the world today. We've grown apart a little bit over the last several years, and our divisiveness have kind of messed us up a little bit. And I feel that came up with the idea for that song, and then I got some friends to be a part of that song, which was an amazing treat as well. You know, my dad, Aaron Neville, and I figured if I knew, you know, I have some friends and they happen to have some unique voices, the people that are on this song. My Aaron Neville, Bonnie Raitt, Michael McDonald. I got Trombone Shorty on it, David Shaw from the Revivalists, you know. Anyway, that song was the inspiration. And I was done. I wrote that song, and then I had that song just sitting. Right. And we were completing the Dumpster Funk album right at the beginning of the pandemic and stuff like that. And then I was approached to do an entire record.
Wow.
I said, okay, so I need about maybe 9 more songs. Let's get to work. And so in between touring with the band and doing other session work and everything, I wrote some more songs and came up with I think a nice little collection of music.
I think it's incredible, and I think it speaks to the depth of your upbringing in the music world also, Ivan, and particularly with Hey All Together. I think the lyrics are so meaningful and poignant, and why it's getting so much airplay and playlists is because of the depth of the lyrics that you wrote in that. And then your second single, you know, with Greatest Place on Earth, I felt like I was in New Orleans listening to, when I listen to the song, it's like I feel like I'm walking down the street.
Yeah, that was the, you know what, and that song, I had never, I mean, I play, you know, obviously my uncle RT started the Meters, my dad, my uncles are the Neville Brothers. I can, that style of music, the New Orleans second line groove, you know, I was born and raised with that, but I had never personally written a New Orleans song. And I was at some point I was in between, because I made this stuff as I went along. I mean, I didn't have songs prepared and now I'm going to go make a record. I had to write the song as I, you know, and I said, I want to write a New Orleans anthem.
And it really is. I mean,
mix it up.
Yeah, a positive message, Ivan.
Yeah, and I want to mix it up with different flavors of versions of other songs. I want to just be a combination of all that I know with it, you know, like Hey Pocky Way with Iko in there, a little bit of Cabbage Alley, just put it all together. Just like New Orleans is a big gumbo. just
Right.
put all the flavors in together and make one big pot of some good food. And yeah, because New Orleans is all about the food, the music, the people, and yeah, I think it represents pretty well what New Orleans has to offer.
I
Yeah.
think it's an incredible anthem, on the album, and it also sent me to thinking about, Dr. John's music and everything. Also, listening to that, and it just has that whole New Orleans feel. But the whole album is so cohesive, and I mean, like you said, Bonnie Raitt, Michael McDonald, Doyle Bramhall II. I mean, and you also have members of Preservation Hall on this album.
Yeah. Those I got Ben Jaffe and Mr. Charlie Gable on. They're on Greatest Place on Earth. And I was thinking about when I was doing that, I got Trombone Shorty on it, and I'm like, okay, if I get the young blood Trombone Shorty, the heir apparent, he's like the New Orleans, the heir apparent to our whole thing.
Right.
And I'm like, if I can get him and Mr. Charlie Gable on a song together, and Ben Jaffe, it's pretty cool, pretty special thing.
Well, and once again, some of our viewers may not know about your deep history, Ivan, of growing up in the music scene and even, playing with the Neville brothers, with your dad and with your uncles and everything, and then going on tour with Bonnie Raitt. And then also, as with your awesome hat, Keith Richards pulling you in for the X-Pensive Winos, and you're on that, tour as well, and then Spin Doctor.
Yeah, not some fun stuff, man. It's been quite a journey doing all that, and I'm glad I'm still around to tell the tale.
well, and I got to ask you, Ivan, in between all of this, being involved in all these bands, and also besides having Dumpster Funk and then your solo album out now, you still find time to be a session musician also for Don Henley and all these other go-to people. How are you balancing all this?
Yeah, well, a lot of that stuff was done. I mean, I still do session stuff to this day, but a lot of those credits and stuff like that with stuff over the years that I've done, and just some of it was just by happenstance, by being in the right place at the right time. Like the Don Henley credit that's really a funny one, because I've always been a big fan of Mr. Henley's and his music with the Eagles and all that stuff. And I was actually the Winos. I was playing with Keith Richards, and we were all in Los Angeles playing a show that week. And Henley was in the studio working on his End of the Innocence album, and Steve Jordan had happened to write a song for that record. He co-wrote a song with Don Henley. Mm-hmm. And we all went to it. I think it's called Henson Studios now, but it used to be called A&M Studios,
right, on
Sunset and La Brea. Mm-hmm. World famous, great studio that's been around for many years. We were all hanging out at that studio at Don Henley's session, and we ended up singing backup vocals on a song on that record. That's how that came about.
Yeah, but how incredible is that too? And once again, I'm not going to let you off the hook, because you are such an incredible, multi-instrumentalist, but especially with keyboards. And I love your keyboards, and it seems like your voice keeps getting better. I mean, you can sing the nice harmonies and all that stuff, but I like it when you get a little raspy and a little more New Orleans.
Yeah, all right.
It's like that's the sound that I associate with you, Ivan, when you really kind of push your voice and really bring that to the table. And I think that's where you have such a unique sound with your keyboards and with your voice.
Thank you very much. I want to tell you, the multi-instrumentalist thing, that's I'm not truly, I mean, I can play bass and I can play a little bit of guitar.
Yes.
And I can play maybe a little bit of drums, but I'm mainly a keyboard player. But I have on my recordings and songwriting, when you're writing sometimes and I think of a bass part, and I may put a bass part down, and that may be the one that stays on the song. And that happens, and some guitar stuff. And my favorite credit of all time is I played bass on a Rolling Stones record called Dirty Work. The album was Dirty Work, and there was a song called Hold Back, and I played bass on that song.
Wow. That's
my favorite credit. That's my favorite credit of all time. Yes.
I don't know. I think you have a lot of great credits, Ivan. I think you're underselling this.
No, it just, a lot of it just happens organically, and then you happen to be around some cool people, and you got to, and you in the right place at the right time, and then you can play a little bit, and you might get invited to play on some stuff. So, a lot of it is pretty, I don't know, pretty.
I'm just saying, Ivan, I think that Bonnie Raitt and Keith Richards could pick anybody they want to be in their bands and to tour and play with them, and they chose you.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. That is true. That is true. And I was very fortunate, especially early on in the early '80s. I played with Bonnie. I started playing. I played in her band from 1984 to '87, I believe, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I went on to do my first solo record right after that, and then I joined up with Keith around that same time. And I had already had an affiliation with Keith through working with the Stones a little bit. And so, yeah, all of that stuff came together. And the beautiful thing is, just over the last few years, I've had the pleasure of, I did a little touring with Bonnie a couple years ago.
Right. And she won a few awards this year.
She won some Grammy Awards, man. Wow. Yeah, how cool.
So you're associated with that. So it's sort of like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Doesn't that kind of mean that, you've won awards then?
Yeah, no, now I've played. Actually, there was a song that my dad won a Grammy for this past year that I played on. I was a part of the group that performed this music for this song he won a Grammy for. I think it was what was it? Best American Roots performance. Aaron Neville and the Dirty Dozen Brass Band for his song Stomping Ground. So I played on that and helped put that together with some friends, my cousin Ian, George Porter Jr. from the Meters, and Eric Krasno, and we played on that. But it feels great to see Bonnie win the Grammy Awards. She won this year. It was like, oh my God, for her to win Song of the Year. What an amazing thing,
Well, and your affiliation with her. And I got to bring up too, some of the movies and stuff you've been in and even featured in a documentary. But besides being a huge musical talent, Ivan, also you've done a lot of charity work over the years, including your work with, from the Katrina and everything like that. And also for your tribute to Fats Domino. It's like you've really opened your heart up with your charity work there in New Orleans too.
Well, you do what you can, man. I've been through some really windy roads over the years, and someone was there to help me when I really needed a hand, and so it goes without saying that when you can do for others, you usually feel pretty good about yourself, when you. And I mean, it's just kind of natural for me in this day and age. Like when I wake up in the morning, it's like, if I'm thinking about me, it can go a little twisted, my brain can go a little negative. But when I'm thinking of what can I do for someone else, I have a 9-year-old son. And when I wake up in the morning and I start going left field in my brain and thinking about, oh, me, I think, my first duty of the day is I have to make breakfast for Isaiah before he goes to school. So that takes the focus off me and puts it somewhere else. And what can I do to be of help?
Wow.
And that's kind of, I've been kind of really wanting to live that philosophy, lately, definitely,
What a great place to be. And also, I think, Ivan, what is so great is you're part of the living legacy of the Neville family, like your uncle Art and everything else, like we were talking with the Meters and the Neville brothers, but also to be, at this time and creating, the best solo album you've ever done. All of your friends want to join you on it. So now you've got, Dumpster Funk, but also you've got this Ivan Neville solo thing going. What a great time to be making music for you.
I'm pretty happy, man. I'm pretty happy right now in the moment, We played a show yesterday, and it's a combination of guys that I put together for a few dates that we're doing in the coming days, and it was the first one was last night, and it felt really good. It sounded really good. A couple of my friends from Dumpster Funk are accompanying me. Tony Hall, on bass, Devin Trustclair on drums, and our friend Ari Titles on guitar. And it felt really nice playing this music, playing some of the new music. And the response from the audience was amazing. And we did a show with some friends of mine. This guy, Dave Perner, he had a band called Soul Asylum.
Oh, yeah.
He has a band called Soul Asylum. You know them from the 90s. They were pretty successful. And I did MTV Unplugged with them 30 years ago.
Wow.
So they did a gig last night in Minneapolis celebrating the 30-year anniversary of Soul Asylum MTV Unplugged. So I played piano, keyboards and stuff with them, but I got to open up and did an opening set. And that was the first one of many of the new Ivan Neville presentation of some new music, a little mixture of a few older things that I like and whatnot. And it felt pretty good.
I'm predicting there's going to be a lot more of that with this new album, Touch My Soul. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, though, Ivan, what keyboards are you taking on the road? What are your favorite keyboards you're rolling with now?
Right now, you know what? For this little run here, I have an A100, which is a Hammond. It's pretty much the same instrument as a Hammond B3,
right?
But it's just in a different box of furniture.
You don't need 4 people to carry it.
Right. Well, you still need 4 people to carry it. But it's called an A100. I carry a Hammond organ, a Hohner clavinet, vintage instruments, and I play in a Nord stage keyboard that I have, like some piano sounds and some Wurlitzer sounds and some synth sounds. And I do a combination of stuff with that. I usually have my keyboard set up in an L shape. And I have things low, up, high, something over here. And for this particular run that I'm doing now, it's a more stripped down version. And I got like a piano, a digital piano sound on one keyboard, and I got my Nord stage that has my personal sound that I put in it, and I have a clavinet. So I don't have the Hammond, the B3 on this particular run. So no, I don't need the 4 guys to carry that.
And also, you won't throw out your back that way with the B3.
That big piece of furniture.
But nothing sounds better.
But it's a beautiful sounding instrument, and you know what? And the way it feels. An organ, and that's what I love about those vintage instruments is the way they feel when you play those keys. I play certain stuff on an organ that I wouldn't play on a clavinet.
Right.
And obviously the clavinet is a more rhythmic, bouncy kind of guitar sound, and you play some funky stuff on the clav, but that's pretty much it. Yeah.
But how incredible, though, too, to where, and I'm such a fan, as I mentioned earlier, of your voice, to where I can definitely see with this new album, these songs, Ivan, to where just, stripped down to where almost, you and a keyboard and your voice singing these, and no knocks against the great stars that you have on here, but it's like, you're just sounding better than ever right now.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I could do some of those with just me on the piano. I love those. I get nervous when I play those kind of gigs, but I love it. The butterflies, I love it. But I got to tell you, the rasp in my voice, which you like, and a lot of people kind of heard that in me and kind of recognized my voice by that. I stopped smoking cigarettes 13 years ago, and amazingly, something healed a little bit in my lungs and my breathing. I caught it. I think I caught it just in time. My voice is like clearer and higher. I have more range really than I ever had.
Well, and also you got to stay healthy with a 9-year-old. Breakfast is not going to cook itself for him.
No, it's not. So I still got the rasp when I want it in there, but I got a little bit better range and my voice is a little more clear and I got more air.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and I've got to ask you too, Ivan, certainly with the album Touch My Soul out, are you going to be dropping more singles? Are you going to have some videos? Obviously, you got the tour going. There's going to be a lot more shows.
Yeah, there's some videos that's going to be started out. There's one, I think in the works, kind of a more animated thing on the song Hey All Together. That's being put together now. And there's also a video for Greatest Place on Earth that'll come out at some point as well. And I'm sure there may be more, but we're just going to keep pushing and playing as much as we can. And you know, and people want to hear this stuff. I hope it happens like that. And you know,
I think it will, because, and I want to tell
Yeah.
our viewers too, Ivan, those are not the only two great songs on that album. I mean, you've got some incredible songs throughout the whole thing. So, you know, don't just only listen to those two because they're great and they have music videos. Give the entire album a listen, right?
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. Now there's some I think some beautiful messages in some of the songs as well.
Such as Blessed.
Oh my God! Yeah, you know what? See, you mentioned that one, man. I've talked to some folks. You're the first one that mentioned that one, man. Right on. No, you're not the one other person mentioned that song, and I was totally like taken aback by it, because that was one of my favorite ones to do, because it has the least lyrics of all of them,
Right.
but it's saying a lot.
Yes.
And I kind of did that intentionally. Like, I was talking about just being blessed and being grateful. That song's about gratitude and there's just like in the little B section where it says I think it's an inside job, undeserved, but I still got it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to the oohs, and I never really say blessed in the song at all, except in the end.
Right.
And I say it kind of you hear it undertoned. But yeah, it's a special song, you know, and it was kind of coming from a place of just feeling kind of grateful, you know, and I found that helps you to get through times when things aren't so wonderful, you know.
Right.
You got to find some blessing somewhere. There's got to be something that you could maybe look at and say, okay, well, I'm grateful for that. I mean, there's someone else that may be going through a much harder time than you're going through. And yeah, don't take those moments for granted, you know.
I think that song's going to touch a lot of people. And I want to make sure too, Ivan, for our viewers, for your website, for the tour, for social media and everything else. I know we're going to have more videos coming out, more singles, obviously some very cool merch coming out also for Touch My Soul.
Yeah.
Where do viewers need to go?
They need to go to ivanneville.com and they can find out where merch is available. Right now, I'm doing these few shows this week. I'm playing in Nashville tonight. I'm playing in Nashville tonight, and Chicago on Saturday, this coming Saturday, and St. Louis on Sunday. And I'll have some stuff there. But there'll be some stuff available on the websites, you know, wherever you find stuff these days. I guess if you go to Instagram, and you can hit a link there, and it'll take you to where you can find tickets to shows.
Right.
You can find links to buy records and stuff like that, and merch and whatnot. And there's some cool. I have some limited edition T-shirts that we did. That I did a throwback photo from me back in the 80s.
Wow.
That's on the front. And I have my son, he wrote some stuff on the back. I think he wrote, what does it say? Touch My Soul, blah, blah. And there's some cool stuff. Yeah.
How incredible is that? Well,
Yeah,
and I think this tour is really going to take off. And I want to make sure also our viewers know, because I enjoyed listening to your Spotify artist area, to where you've got, you know, the new songs rolling out, but you have your past ones as well on there, Ivan.
Thank you very much. Yeah. There's
So
some
they can
stuff.
add you to the Spotify list.
Yeah. Come on.
Well, I'll tell you what, congratulations. Touch My Soul is out. And I know you're going to be having a big tour on this. I think it's going to be a headlining tour with this great music. It sounds so great on everything with the songs. Ivan Neville, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Eric, man. Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.